It's my pleasure to introduce Jinseon Yook, who is a PhD candidate in nutrition. Dr. Sun-Kyu Chung is the mentor.
Thank you for the introduction. Today I will talk about iron deficiency and obesity. Iron deficiency and anemia is one of the most prevalent nutrition-related diseases. And obesity individuals are more likely to anemic, and their body temperature is lower than normal weight individuals, which means hypothermia. And obese individuals are vulnerable to infection like COVID-19 since they have activated chronic inflammation status. Thus, the prevalence of obesity is critical public health problem. In switching gear, there are two types of fat cells, white adipocytes and brown beige adipocytes. And white adipocyte stores energy in the form of triglyceride, whereas brown beige adipocyte burns energy into heat. Recent studies revealed that defective beige and brown adipocytes induce obesity. Based on previous researches, we raised the question, does iron deficiency and obesity contribute to defective brown fat activation? And my hypothesis is that iron is a critical regulator for brown beige fat activation and thermogenic energy expenditure. To address this question, we set animal study with mice. To induce iron deficiency anemia, we fed mice with iron deficient diet and control mice were fed with iron sufficient diet along with a high fat diet for 14 weeks. And they were stimulated with thermogenic activation. We found that iron was depleted in iron deficiency animal model through the data showing significant reduction in serum ferritin, which is iron storage protein. We saw a dramatic increase of fat mass and weights of subcutaneous and visceral fats, suggesting that iron deficiency increased the adiposity in white fats. And significant decrease of iron content was observed in iron deficient subcutaneous fat. Next, to test the thermogenic activation, we placed the mice at 4 Celsius degrees for 3 hours, which is a conventional method to investigate thermal activation. And iron deficient mice maintained their body temperature significantly lower compared to control after 2 hours of cold exposure, suggesting that the activation of brown fat was interfered with iron deficiency. Next, we simulated adipocyte browning by treating Cl, which is browning agent. In this infrared image, the red area indicates high temperature, and the yellow area indicates lower temperature. Upon browning simulation, control mice showed higher heat release from brown adipose tissue and subcutaneous fat. Whereas, even though we stimulated browning, the iron-deficient mice released less heat. And through H&E staining, we found that browning was activated by Cl in subcutaneous fat with small lipid droplet, which was absent in iron-deficient mice. Consistently, brown-specific marker UCP1 was highly activated by browning activation, which was substantially decreased in iron-deficient mice, suggesting that iron deficiency decreased beige fat development in subcutaneous fat upon browning activation. In summary, iron deficiency increases adiposity partially due to defective thermogenesis. This implicates that iron dysregulation is an independent risk factor for obesity by reducing thermogenic energy expenditure. Thank you for your attention. Do you have any questions?
Okay, Jinseon, that was great. Thank you very much. Quick question for me. What about the translational aspects of this? Do you think you would see the same response in humans?
in obese individuals, iron absorption is significantly decreased, and the low-grade inflammation induced by obesity interfere with systemic iron regulate or iron homeostasis by sequestrating iron in the iron storage site like liver and macrophages. And also we found that iron deficiency increased adiposity due to defective thermogenesis. Thus, improving iron status could be one of the promising therapeutic targets to combat obesity in humans.
Okay, thank you. Of course, we have this from a kinesiology professor, John Sperad. Did you measure activity level of mice? Could activity level mediate these effects that you have seen?
Yes, the activity level also impacted the energy expenditure. We have a plan to do and measure the activities of mice, but due to the machine was out of order, so that time we couldn't measure the activity levels.
Okay, very good. Another question from Brittany Rosen. Do you think the use of iron supplements would eliminate this issue? I assume this is in humans.
Iron supplement would not improve the iron status. It will not improve the reduce the obesity, because there, as I mentioned before, the iron absorption is already decreased in the obese individuals, and also systemic iron homeostasis is interfered, so available iron is very low in obese individuals. So rather giving them iron supplement, I would recommend to give them antioxidants to improve to reduce inflammation status. There's increased available iron.
Okay. Another question for me is, what are your future research directions with this project? Very, very interesting results. I'm very interested to see what you got coming down the pike.
In the future, we will investigate if decreasing inflammation by giving antioxidant, and we are gonna see whether it increases the brown adipose tissue activation, thus reducing obesity in the mice.
Okay, very good. Is there any more questions? We may have time for one more question. Okay, Jinseon, thank you so much for a wonderful presentation.